Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We are here with another episode of Dark, the penultimate episode. Things are starting to get very, very interesting. We more bad parenting as usual, which is the recurring theme in Dark. The apocalypse has begun in Eva's world, and she has begun to move all her pieces into place wherever it is that may be. We see several of them arriving in the other world. Some in this world before several other individuals. I'm not sure what her move is here. Adam is on the verge of undoing the knot he has Martha captive, and he's I guess attempting to. He said he needed energy from both worlds to actually destroy it. So we'll see how that goes. We finally got an answer to why the stranger, i.e. Adam, has no recollection of the events that this Jonas has been experiencing. It's two paths that diverged and resulted in two Jonases. So that's the explanation that they gave. So hopefully we'll see. Jonas is not dead, so I guess we'll just be following the stranger. The naive Jonas who is just now meeting Claudia for the first time. Still no idea how he survived the apocalypse. We just saw him run downstairs, which I don't think is that's sufficient coverage. So we'll see. Hopefully we get some answers this episode. So let's check it out.
Was ist Realität? Gibt es davon nur eine einzige? Erwin Schrödinger hat für diese Frage ein überaus interessantes Gedankenexperiment konstruiert.
Schrödingers cat.
Schrödingers Katze.
What do you know?
Ein radioaktives Atom im Inneren der Stahlkammer zerfällt, löst der Geigerzähler den Hammer aus, der die Ampulle mit dem Gift zerschlägt. Die Katze ist tot. Ist das Atom gleichzeitig zerfallen und nicht zerfallen? Bis zu dem Moment,
I love
wo
his
wir
hair.
nachschauen, wissen wir nicht, ob die Katze tot oder lebendig ist.
Good stuff.
Wenn das gleichzeitige Vorhandensein von Leben und Tod auch für die Welt des Makrokosmos gelten würde. Wenn ja, wie viele unterschiedliche Realitäten wären dann nebeneinander möglich?
Is this a third or is this the second? But they're showing us why she didn't save Jonas in this reality.
Adam und die anderen, sie haben dich belogen. Er will dir nicht helfen. Er wird dich töten. In der Zukunft. Er will die Apokalypse nicht verhindern.
But she chose, man. She chose. She knew. I mean, she didn't know all of this, but it was pointless to come here. She knew what would happen to Jonas, so she chose. I guess she listens to him here. She finally chose Bartosz. Well, not for the reason he always wanted, but it's something. Is this the night he gets his visit?
Menschen fällt es schwer, den Tod zu akzeptieren. Er hält fest an Dingen, die längst vergangen sind. Er sehnt sich vergeblich nach einem Weg, die Zeit zurückzudrehen.
Charlotte.
Den Tod ins Gegenteil zu verkehren.
Alright, so that ties back into, old man Tannhouse's father and why he gave this Charlotte her name. What's he doing on this property? Thought Jonas pretty much said the path was destroyed. Or the tunnel caved in, so I'm not sure what they're hoping to find there. How do you know? You've never experienced it.
Was wir getan haben, ist dort vergessen. Jeder Schmerz, den wir empfunden haben.
And he plants that in her head and she believes him. It's too soon for that. Ah. That explains where his appearance. Clearly he wasn't that careless so many times. You guys just need to accept things as they are. Has he finally let go? I mean, he burnt the letter in the last episode.
Und wenn wir ihn gefunden haben, dann werden wir ihn vernichten.
So does that mean he's now let go of Martha? I thought Adam said it took him at least 66 years.
Das ist das Paradies. Zwei verschissene Jahre. Ich will dein verficktes Paradies nicht. Ich will hier einfach nur weg.
So I don't know if he has let Martha go, if that's what the letter signified, or if he's still holding on to it here, because he could still be.
Hallo?
Ich wollte sie nicht.
So Adam sent her back. Must have been for a reason.
Ich bin Celia.
Okay. The name was mentioned last episode, and I was wondering who the hell was Celia. I guess that's her name. I forget who said it. Damn it. And to try to kill himself. I mean, there are other ways he could have done this. That could have been a lot less painful. They do become friends, don't they?
Was versprochen. Adam hat mir was versprochen. Du hast gesagt, dass die Apokalypse passieren muss. Damit wir gerettet werden.
Why would you buy into all of this? You're from a completely different timeline. If you had stayed there, you'd have been fine. So why cut the rope earlier? I thought it was because Noah couldn't kill him, but
Kannst dir nicht das Leben nehmen,
he can't kill himself either.
weil es ein älteres Ich bereits gibt.
Uh,
Egal, was du versuchst.
that would mean everyone who's in the cycle is actually immortal then and can't die.
Oder jemand wird dich immer davon abhalten.
Which again, I mean, why would he just cut the rope if he knows he can't die? So What's the point of that? Yeah, let me just become friends with this guy who's been murdering children. Yeah, let's go.
Ja, gut. Einmal noch. Einmal noch.
Wait, what? How much time passed between the last scene and this one?
Soll heißen.
Okay. No.
Hanno.
Hanno. I feel like I've heard that name said
Der
before.
Lage ein Ziel, so unerreichbar es auch erscheinen mag, über die Dauer eines ganzen Lebens zu verfolgen.
Interesting. So Tannhaus builds the chair.
Wirklichkeit in unserem Streben nicht das, was uns vom
Oh,
Tier
this looks very
unterscheidet,
different.
das nur kurzfristiges Begehren kennt. Wir werden erst loslassen können, wenn wir unser Ziel endgültig erreicht haben.
Alright. So Charlotte is born at this point, I suppose. Time to go back and start this mess all over again. It's interesting. They didn't change Claudia to her older self just yet and try to make her look younger. They kept the same actress here, but everyone else changed. Oh, okay. Guess not.
Vielleicht will Claudia gar nicht, dass es funktioniert. Warum vertraust du ihr überhaupt?
Why do you trust Adam? Exactly. Because he told you what you wanted to hear. And they're both lying to you.
Was weißt du wirklich über sie?
And her other self told her that. So
Sie ist manchmal tagelang verschwunden.
what are you basing all this on?
Woher weiß sie all die Dinge, die sie weiß?
Oh, it's pregnant Ellie.
Noch immer keinen Verdacht? Nein. Er hat keine Ahnung, dass es dich oder die andere Welt gibt. Du musst ihn weiter auf seinem Weg geleiten.
Come on, Claudia, you're smarter than this.
Ich habe mich gefragt, hast du sie jemals getroffen?
Wen?
Mein älteres Ich.
Nein.
That is interesting. So this other Claudia has never met herself,
Alles
so
gelingt,
does she die sooner than this one does?
dann wird Regina leben. Ich habe darüber all die Jahre nachgedacht.
Why would you want that?
Es muss einen Weg geben, den Knoten zu lösen. Ohne alles Leben darin zu zerstören.
Yeah. I'm team Claudia here. Everyone else is just
Adam kennt diesen Weg.
although I
Ich werde ihn
mean
finden. In meiner oder deiner Welt.
that explains why she's never met her older self. She dies here. Although Claudia is also being driven by her desire to save Regina, I trust her I have a lot more than I trust Adam or Eva at this stage. Oh, did she go back masquerading as the other Claudia? Brilliant, Claudia, brilliant.
Noah beobachtet sie.
How'd she know where to find her?
Du musst ihn Claudia geben. Und sie muss ihn Tannhaus geben.
Alright, still at it and hasn't figured a thing out. Sorry, Bartosz. She's gone. Or she gave birth to another child. I suppose this is the point where he lost faith, you know, in the cause, and then Noah had to give him the axe at the cave. I mean, I guess Bartosz doesn't know the relation. Why is his name Hanno? Does that mean that it's actually Noah? He did say to him at the cave, you know, haven't you wondered why he called you Noah? So Bartosz is their dad, which means that he was killed by his son. Stolen by yourself and your mother. Knew the betrayal was coming. None of them die here, so. I mean, look, if you know this guy's gonna betray you at some point, why on earth would you stick around him all this time? I guess, I mean, I know they're holding on to hope that, okay, paradise and all, but
Sie. Ich bringe sie zurück.
And then he goes to work for Adam and dies. So then she ends up losing them both. But he cannot will what he wills. Yeah, we're getting a lot of Bartosz this, more than I thought we would have, you know, this season.
Hannah.
Oh. Interesting. And who's the child? She was in the 50s, unless she did a time jump here. Oh, okay, the briefcase, so she must have. He's changed to Adam at this point. All the scars he must have gotten. And how does Celia end up in the future? And why is there no presence of Hannah when we saw Adam last for the first time? Yeah, she just it's just and that's what puzzles me about Hannah. I mean, she could have used the briefcase to jump to the future to find Jonas, but instead she decided to use it to go back to the 50s. So why show up here now? So the girl is his sister.
Das ist alles meine Schuld.
She's accepting some responsibility.
Aber jetzt bin ich hier.
Think you're too late. Jonas is gone.
Bartosz, mach ihn die Kammer zurecht.
Chamber. So what becomes of Hannah?
Was machst du da?
Celia. Sie gehört nicht hierher.
Yeah, he needs her to save him in the future. Why would she even come here on Eva's behest, you know? Yeah. This is the thing. I don't know. Why did he, I don't know why he felt he had to kill her. You know, I mean, perhaps she's the last attachment that he has that he wants to get rid of. Dude, he looks scary as hell. That face is not something you want to wake up to at night, especially not as a kid. That's the thing you check under the bed to ensure it's not there. I would have thought Bartos should have put all the pieces together the moment he met Celia and recognized her. I guess he realized it's a bit too late.
Ich habe mich gefragt, wann du kommst.
Wait, how do he get here? How do he travel back? I'm just trying to figure out how he traveled back there. The device still wasn't working. Claudia was still not fixing what they needed to.
Du hattest recht. Claudia. Sie hat uns alle belogen.
So he just sold him that Claudia is the enemy, and it was Claudia who did all this.
Die letzten Seiten, sie fehlen. Du musst sie finden. Sie werden dich zu Charlotte führen und endlich auch in dein Ziel.
Yeah, Noah, just following blindly.
Es muss genau so wieder passieren. Du musst dein jüngeres Ich auf den gleichen Weg führen. Er darf nicht anders handeln.
The device is ready.
Wir reparieren. Du musst die Passage zerstören. Und den Knoten mit.
Moving towards her own death. Which she knows, so she must have planned for it. Come on, don't let me down, Claudia. You're the one I'm counting on here. Can't trust anyone else.
Ist in der Kleinstadt Winden ein 15-jähriger Junge auf mysteriöse Weise verschwunden.
You're back.
Und nun alarmiert ein weiterer Vermisstenfall die Bürger der Stadt.
Warum hast du mich hierher gebracht?
So this is the
Ich
version
wollte
that
aber, dass das alles
becomes
überhaupt passiert.
Eva.
Nein. Sie sind das Licht.
Ist es nicht eigenartig, dass wir die größte Abneigung den Menschen entgegen
Adam's words.
sind? Ich bin nicht wie du. Den Schmerz vergisst man nicht. Er zeichnet uns unser Leben lang. Wir tragen die gleichen Narben.
Oh, she gives her the scar. And she decides to keep working for her?
Damit du niemals vergisst, auf welche Seite du wirklich gehörst. Du verstehst es jetzt vielleicht noch nicht. Aber mit uns entscheidest du dich für das.
Okay. I mean, you just cut me in my face, so I don't know about that. Somehow I don't think it's that easy. I mean, you're still here. You're still here.
Das kann nicht sein.
After all of that.
Hallo Jonas.
Ah, Claudia. All right, there we have it. Another episode of Dark. Another brilliant episode. This episode was more or less just sort of filling in the gaps of events that we knew would unfold, but we didn't see them unfold on screen. So we're seeing it now. So, yeah, I said it earlier that Claudia is the only one that I'm trusting to get this to unravel this not at this stage because clearly Adam is being guided by Eva, who has her own objectives, and to some extent he's still being driven by desire despite his parent attempt to remove anyone who may be a desire for him. Yeah, I mean, first off, I didn't think Bartosz would be as prominent as he has been this episode or this season entirely. I'm not sure why. In the last episode, we saw several of Eva's pieces, arrive before someone. For some reason we don't know. She herself appeared before Bartosz in the other world. But what I'm not clear on is what exactly she said to him, for him to just follow her and, go and seek out Jonas, to bring Jonas to her. That part, and that's, one of the small gripes. I love the series. It's a fantastic series, but that's one of the small gripes that I have. I think for Martha's journey, we needed at least season 3 and a 4th season to so we can see what the motivations of some of these characters are. I said it before at the end of the I think at the beginning of this season actually that it feels as though the writers perhaps didn't want to retread the ground that Jonas has already walked in, with Martha in his stead as a replacement. But I think it was sort of needed because we're left to make a lot of assumptions as to what's driving a lot of the characters in this mirror world, in this alternate world, because we just don't know. We're making a lot of assumptions that okay, this event happened the exact way that it did with Jonas, or maybe it didn't. We don't know what's driving Bartosz here for him to do that. I suspect she would have said to him that okay, I am Martha and all of that, but that's a whole lot to digest and just go based on what she has just told him. It you know, if it hadn't have been Martha who told him everything that, you know, that she did in the last episode, I don't think he would have believed them. So for this person to show up and just see all of that, and there are instances perhaps that she could have said certain things to him to convince him otherwise, but for him to just take that at value and go and do this just seems odd, and for her in fact to make that change, you know, because she was, and this is twofold, because she was initially you know, she had the conviction to save her friends and family, and then, you know, Magnus and Franziska showed up and convinced her otherwise, and said, okay, you can save Jonas if you come with us, and that version of her goes and saves Jonas, and then Bartosz comes along and says, okay, don't do this, and then she quickly changes gears and does the opposite. So she quickly changes her mind at least twice, without us really understanding, you know, how is it she's convicted to do this 1 minute and then that the next and then that the other. I just felt we needed more time to understand a lot of these characters for Martha's journey to see how Eva comes to be, and why, you know, in her case, I feel as though they're even with her giving herself the scar here, it feels as though she's driving everyone through fear, as opposed to something a bit more complex as to what Adam has been doing, which is essentially manipulating them through their desires to do what he wants them to do, because he needs them to do it. But for Eva, it appears to be do this because this side is the right side and it's the right thing to do, and, you know, remember that you're on our side, and it just, you know, it's just a complete flip from what, you know, I'm expecting. So she seems to be, you know, motivating them through fear, and I just don't understand why everyone would be on board with that. The last episode we saw her, you know, line up everyone who's working, who's a part of her group, I suppose. We saw, you know, older Egon, and several of the other versions of the characters, Noah and all of that. But what's driving those persons, you know? We can assume that it's the same thing that's driving the ones from our world, but then things happen so differently here, then we can't take that for granted. So I just wish we had one more season. I wish the third season had spent time actually allowing us to see Martha go through those experiences, and seeing all the other versions of the characters in her world, what's driving them, a bit more fleshed out in the way that we did with season 1 with Jonas, and then we move on to season 4 to have all of this happening. So I just thought that would have been that would have helped me personally, right? Others may have a different opinion there, but I thought that it would have been served well with another season to flesh out Martha and her journey and her experiences so far. But for the most part, I do love it. Interestingly, for Bartosz, the huge revelation this episode, you know, realizing now that both Martha's love interests are persons that she's actually related to, Jonas and Bartosz himself. Now that we know that, you know, he's Agnes and Noah's father, and later down the line, she's related to Noah in some respects. So it's yeah, she has only 2 options, and they're both relatives. Not great. So this, I think I had realized it in the last episode that this is the Bartosz that Noah ends up killing. And you know, that means that Bartosz was killed by his own son, Hanno, who I don't know how or why he would do that. We just immediately jumped to Hannah being much older. We didn't see much of his relationship with Bartosz to see why he would suddenly, you know, he'd be so indoctrinated with his father being there that he would just kill his father without question because Adam told him so. Um, and I guess they just, Bartosz just didn't leave, but he he's continued to question Adam's motives, but yet he still stayed true to the cause. I mean, in Celia, he seems to have found a love interest, moved on past Martha, and while I understand his mate perhaps wanting to get back to his timeline, he seems to have gotten past that at a certain point, and he has moved on. I wouldn't hang around. I mean, I wouldn't stay there, but he seems to have stayed with Adam and allowed his children to be brought into this circle. And the moment he saw Celia with Hannah, I would have expected him to come to that realization, because he met her in a previous timeline. So how would she be here now? I would have expected him to, and perhaps that's when he realized, and later Noah kills him. But I wouldn't have stuck around, and I don't want to go back into the conversation about determinism. As I said, we'll have that larger conversation in the next, at the end of the next episode, or in a separate video. But I mean, he found some amount of happiness here. I would have just taken my family and gotten as far away from them as possible. But unfortunately not. The moment with Hannah, though, that was, yeah, that was expected, because I've been looking out for that event, for something to happen, because he, in his very encounter with Adam and Jonas, their conversation, he did mention that something happened, or he had to do something, that at that point there was no turning back. He had to, that it needed to happen, and he had to make that sacrifice. And I've been waiting for it to happen. Initially, I thought it would have been, maybe killing Bartosz, but then we saw Bartosz alive and so on. But then it ended up being Hannah. So he kills Hannah, takes Elias, and she needs to be in place because she needs to save him so that he can continue. Up to a certain point, again, because he doesn't continue on into the alternate world, but yeah. But I don't know what Adam does now. I mean, what he had hoped would work, using the energy from both worlds to destroy the origin, didn't work. Eva appears to just, she's trying to save herself, and I suppose that's one of the things is self-preservation for her. She wants to continue the cycle because she wants to ensure that she continues to exist. That's her only motivation, as far as I can see. I would have wanted something more from her, but they're all being driven by selfish desires. So who's to say that makes her world any less worthy of being saved than his? But her, in an interesting way, her world, and I think I made this analogy in the last episode as well. She was born off Jonas, Adam, Eve. She was born off him. But who can we really say that Jonas at this stage, with everything that he has done, that he's any more deserving? He caused this mess, and I'm just curious to know what Claudia's plan is, because she's the one that I'm putting all my hopes on to put an end to this madness, because as much as I think Adam is trying to do the right thing, it may just be that he's not so much trying to save everyone else as he wants to end his own existence, because he apparently can't die. And that discussion I will be having at the end of the next episode as well, because I want to understand, and perhaps I don't understand it. I want others to explain it to me, what the basis is for that premise that he can't die because his future self exists. Because everyone here is a part of a bootstrap paradox, which means they all can't die, which which would raise so many questions as to why certain actions are taking place, if that is the case. Why did old man Helg die when he tried to kill his younger self? You know, why did Noah try to stop Jonas here? If he wasn't going to die, he just let him hang himself. He wouldn't have died. So there are a lot of moments that I'm now questioning. So I mean, when did we start following this premise that if your older self exists, then you can't die? I mean, why did Bartosz die? If his older self, if he can't die because his older self exists, that means that Adam should have died when Noah tried to kill him, because that is him in his current state. It's not his younger self. That's just him. So why couldn't Adam have died at that point? You know, and why did Bartosz die if that is the case? Because everyone in this loop essentially exists elsewhere. And so when did we start applying this, and how exactly does it work? Has it been consistent? Because I don't feel as though it's been consistent. And so on and so forth. Why did Claudia end up dying, but not Adam? So what are the rules that we are following here as far as who can die and who can't die? So it's all very interesting, but I'd want to have some clarity, a bit more clarity on that. Yeah, so I mean, as I said, Claudia I'm Team Claudia at this point, because as much as she's been driven by her own desires to save Regina, at the very least, she was able to come to the conclusion that, okay, there must be a way to do this without without eliminating everyone else. So she's at least trying to rationalize things, while being driven by her own desires. Of course, there's the Tannhaus. What was Tannhaus building in the bunker? And is there some relation between him and Helge, because the property is owned by his family, by the Dopplers? I didn't make a connection between Helge and Tannhaus before, but there appears to be one. I initially thought what he was building there was the chair, or a prototype for the chair, but then maybe not, or maybe this is just a prototype and it later gets refined down to what we see at Noah use later on. Maybe not. I'm not sure. Yeah. At the least, I knew. We already came to the realization that Ellie and Charlotte would have been the ones to take Charlotte away from Noah. All of that on the belief that Adam is actually right. Everyone is putting their hopes in Adam, and I just cannot for the life of me understand why. I suppose they don't have an alternative. It's follow Adam or continue in the cycle. My question remains as it was throughout this season, and that was just leave Wyndham. Just leave it, go somewhere else. But I guess, again, the conversation would come back down to the whole determinism discussion. So we'll get into that a bit more. But definitely another fantastic episode. We're putting the pieces together, and I'm loving the back and forth between Eva and Adam. But he's now at the end of his rope, so I'm curious to see what his plan is, what Claudia's plan is now. What did she realize earlier on? But she's the only one that did the thing that that needed to happen. Her other version shows up, she kills her. Okay, I do not like what you're telling me now, because I'm just not buying it. And so Claudia, yeah, I can't wait to see what her plan is, because I knew the moment she died that she must have had some contingency for what happens to her, to ensure that this cycle doesn't just repeat itself. So looking forward to that. Can't wait. So be sure to post down below, let me know what your thoughts are on this episode. Hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys for the next one.